The mining planet Zeros 9 was cold, dry, and full of silence. The sun never showed. The sky was always gray. The only noise came from the machines of the humans who worked there. Reed Carter, a strong and quiet man, was the foreman of the ice mining crew. He had worked in many places, but Zeros 9 felt different, like the planet was hiding something. "Keep the drills hot," Reed told his team as they broke deeper into the ancient ice. They were clearing tunnels to reach a rare energy crystal. The workers had found strange shapes in the ice before, old machines, broken metal, but today was different. It started with a clank, then a crack. Then the drill stopped. "Something's blocking it," said one of the men. "Solid, but not ice." Reed stepped forward, brushed away the frost, and stared at what lay beneath. A wall, but not human. Smooth black stone, cold but humming with energy. Glowing blue lines ran across it like veins. "What is this?" "One," Miner whispered. "Clear it," Reed ordered. Hours passed. The team melted away the ice, revealing a huge door, curved at the top, marked with strange alien symbols. Reed touched one of the glowing lines. The wall pulsed. A sound rang out, a deep, slow boom like a heartbeat. Then, hiss! The door opened. Cold fog spilled out. Behind it was a chamber made of crystal and metal. The lights inside were dim, but enough to see what was at the center. The men stepped back in fear. Inside the chamber was a creature, massive, scaled, and frozen solid. A dragon. Its wings were folded, its tail coiled around its body. Long black horns curled from its head. Its eyes were shut. Ice covered every part of it. "It's not moving," said a worker. "It's dead," another added. Reed stepped closer. His breath showed in the freezing air. "No," he said. "Look at the chest." They watched. Slowly. Very slowly. It moved. Once. Then again. It was breathing. "Call HQ," Reed ordered. "Tell them what we found." But the comms were down. Static. Only. Later that night, Reed sat alone near the open chamber. The others had left. No one wanted to stay near the thing. They were scared. Reed wasn't sure why he wasn't. He looked around the walls. Symbols were written in a perfect circle around the frozen beast. At the top was one large crest, gold and sharp. He had seen that shape before, in old alien files. "It's royal," he whispered. "A mark of the Empress. But why would a royal dragon be buried here? Who locked it in ice, and why did it still live?" Reed stood and walked to the control panel beside the chamber. It was old, but still had power. A soft blue screen glowed. Single button blinked. Reed couldn't read the alien words, but the symbol looked simple enough. Heat. He hesitated. What if this thing is dangerous? He said to himself. But something deep inside told him it wasn't. It looked powerful, yes, but not evil. It looked abandoned, forgotten. Reed pressed the button. The chamber lights turned red. A low hum began. Heat coils under the platform turned, and the ice began to melt. Steam rose into the air. Reed stepped back, heart pounding. He waited. 5 minutes passed. 10. Then, movement. The creature's front claw twitched, its wings shivered, then, slowly, its eye opened. One golden eye, glowing like a tiny sun, looked straight at Reed. He didn't move. The dragon's body trembled. Ice cracked and fell from its back. Then, to Reed's shock, a voice rang in his head. Not a sound, not a roar, but a whisper inside his mind. "Where is she?" Reed blinked. "What?" "Where is the Empress?" The dragon tried to rise but fell back to one knee. Reed took a step forward. "I don't know," he said softly. "You were frozen for a long time." The dragon's head turned slowly. "She promised she would return for me." A silence filled the room. Then the voice came again. "But she did not. She left me to die." Reed felt something he didn't expect. Sadness. This wasn't just a beast, it was a guardian, a loyal protector, and someone had left it behind. The dragon's name would come later. Its story would unfold. But at that moment, Reed knew one thing. This creature was not meant to be forgotten, and he had just brought it back to life. The heat coils under the floor glowed brighter. Steam filled the old alien chamber, wrapping around the frozen beast like a rising fog. Bits of melting ice cracked and dropped from the creature's wings and claws. The dragon, still weak, still slow, sat, motionless. Only one golden eye was open, glowing softly in the mist. Reed Carter stood at the edge of the room. His fingers were shaking, but not from fear. From something deeper. Wonder. The voice came again, inside his head. "What year is this?" Reed stepped closer. "It's year 924 New Galactic Time." The dragon paused. "Then I have slept for over 2,000 years. More ice slid off its back, its long tail uncurled slightly. I was betrayed." Reed swallowed. "You said the Empress left you?" The dragon's head slowly turned toward him. "She did not return." The chamber lights flickered. The walls around them were covered in strange symbols. Reed couldn't read them, but some looked like warnings. He took a breath. "I think they froze you on purpose." The beast gave a low sound, not a roar, but a breath that shook the room. "I am Carix, flame-bound guardian of House Varel." The name echoed inside Reed's mind like thunder in a cave. "And I, do not forget." Reed crouched near the control panel. "The others are afraid of you. They left. I stayed because—" He looked at the great eyes watching him. "Because I don't think you're what they say you are." Carix blinked once. "Then you are either wise or foolish." Reed smiled slightly. "I've been both." The heat in the room grew stronger. The last layer of ice on Carix's chest cracked and fell away, revealing a strange crystal embedded just above his heart. It pulsed with faint red light. Carix lowered his head. "Take it." Reed hesitated. "What is it?" "Her last message. Left for me. But I no longer wish to hear it." Still, Reed stepped forward. The crystal was warm, almost too warm to touch. He removed it gently. It floated in his palm, then blinked once and activated. A hologram appeared. It was a tall alien woman, regal, powerful, with silver armor and glowing green eyes. Her voice was calm but full of sadness. "Carix, if you're hearing this, and it means I failed. I was taken during the final hour. I sealed you away not to forget you, but to protect you. They fear you, not because you destroy, but because you are loyal. Too loyal." Her image flickered. "You are more than a guardian. You are my friend. Forgive me." Then it ended. Reed stared at the empty air. Carix didn't move. The room was still. "She did not abandon me." His voice sounded heavier now. "She tried to save me." Reed nodded. "Yes, she was trying to keep you safe." Suddenly alarms from Reed's compad began to beep. "Motion, Sector 9. He tapped into the camera feed. Red dots moving fast. 3. No, 5 ships had landed near the mining camp. Unknown markings. Not from his company. Carix raised his head slowly. "They have come." Reed looked up. "Who?" "Those who feared the Empress. If they know I live, they will try to finish what they started." Back at the surface, Reed's crew was in panic. Guards shouted. Equipment buzzed. The black ships had no flags, no lights, just power and silence. In the lower chamber, Reed walked to Carix. "You're not ready for a fight," he said. "You're still healing." Carix's wings twitched once. "I will not let them take me again." Reed grabbed his toolkit and flashlight. Then let's get out before they find you. But before they could leave, Carrick's froze. His eye glowed, brighter. One of them carries my scent, Reed frowned. What does that mean? A traitor? From the old court. They heard the first blast above. The enemy had found the factory entrance. Time was short. Carrick's moved forward, slowly, but with growing strength. If I must burn again, I will burn for truth. Reed didn't look away. Then I'll stand, with you. In that moment, man and dragon stood side by side, not as master and beast, but as survivors, one from the past, one from the present, both standing between fear and fire. The old chamber rumbled. Dust fell from the crystal ceiling. Somewhere above, explosions echoed through the ice tunnels. The invaders had arrived. Reed checked the energy on his compad. They're inside the upper levels. Beside him, the ancient dragon Carrick stretched his wings. The last ice had melted off. His black and gold scales now shimmered under the soft chamber lights. His chest rose and fell in steady rhythm. But Reed could tell, Carrick's was still not at full strength. I can fight, the dragon said into Reed's mind, but my fire has not returned. Then we move carefully, Reed replied. We don't need a war, not yet. Carrick stepped forward, claws echoing across the stone floor. A strange symbol glowed on his left shoulder. Reed had seen it before. The crest of House Varel. You served the Empress, Reed said. Tell me what happened. Carrick paused, then nodded once. She ruled 12 star systems, not with fear, but with balance. Her enemies were not outside her palace. They sat beside her. The High Lords feared me. I was loyal only to her. Reed understood. So they betrayed her to get to you. They forced her to make a choice, surrender me, or see her people die. The dragon looked at the crystal walls. She chose mercy. She locked me away. Reed felt a lump in his throat. And you thought she abandoned you? Carrick didn't answer. He didn't need to. Suddenly, the ground shook harder. A blast door above shattered. The chamber turned red with warning lights. They were here. Reed grabbed his tool belt. We hold them off, or stall them. Carrick raised his head. They expect me to roar, to burn everything. Reed gave a tight smile. Let's surprise them. Moments later, the invaders entered the lower level, 5 black-armored aliens with white visors. They moved like shadows, fast and silent. At the edge of the chamber, they stopped. They saw Reed, standing alone, hands raised. No need to shoot, he said. You're trespassing, by the way. The leader aimed a pulse rifle at him. Where is the creature? Reed nodded behind him. Resting, they stepped forward. That's when the air changed. Heat swept through the room and Carrick stepped out of the shadows. But he didn't attack. He didn't roar. He just looked at them. His eyes calm, his wings wide, golden veins glowing along his chest. One of the attackers lowered his weapon, whispering, By the stars, it's real. The leader shouted, Fire! But before a single shot was pulled, the ground erupted beneath their feet. Carrick had slammed his tail into the ice. The floor cracked. 3 attackers fell into the pit below. The others ran. Reed rushed to the edge and looked down. They're alive, Carrick growled. I spared them. Let that be their warning. Reed stared. You could have killed them. Why didn't you? Because the Empress did not rule with rage, and I am still her flame. They climbed the old escape. Tunnel. Reed's compad blinked. A signal was coming in. A voice, broken and old, filled the air. This is Empress Varel. To any who remain. Carrick froze. The voice continued. Taken. Imprisoned. If this reaches you, I am not dead. Do not forget me. Then static. Then silence. Reed's heart pounded. He looked at Carrick. She's alive. She is alive, Carrick repeated, his voice soft but shaking. For 2,000 years I held my anger like fire in my chest. Now, I carry hope. Reed looked at the broken path above. We need to find her. We will, but they'll come again. Let them. The dragon's eyes burned bright. I remember who I am now. Together, man and beast stepped into the cold tunnel. Behind them, the broken chamber began to fall apart. An old tomb no longer needed. Ahead of them was war. But also, a second chance. The tunnels above the frozen chamber had begun to collapse. Reed and Carrick's moved through smoke and broken ice. The old mining lights flickered on the walls. Sparks danced in the air. The enemy ships were gone, but Reed knew they'd be back. They always came back for things they feared. And now they feared Carrick's more than ever. They reached the surface under a pale, frozen sky. The mining camp was in ruins, equipment crushed, tents torn by shockwaves, but the skies were quiet, for now. Reed activated his compad again. Still nothing, no long-range signal. They must be jamming transmissions. Carrick's stood beside him, tall and still. They heard her voice, the dragon said. They know she's alive. Reed nodded. Which means they'll do anything to stop us from finding her. Before they could decide their next step, Carrick's turned toward the distant hills. There's something I must show you, he began, walking slowly with heavy steps toward the ice cliffs. Reed followed, unsure what lay ahead, but knowing this creature walked not with anger now, but with purpose. After a long climb, they reached a strange outcrop of stone. Half buried in snow was a black metal tower, bent, broken, but still glowing faintly. What is this place? Reed asked. An archive, Carrick's replied. Hidden, during the first days of the rebellion. It holds her last thoughts and her enemies' names. Carrick's raised his claw and placed it on the old panel. The ancient door creaked open. Inside, rows of shimmering crystals, floating in beams of light. Some were cracked, some still pulsed with data. Reed stepped in carefully. Feels like walking into someone's memory. That is exactly what it is, said Carrick's. The dragon guided him to one crystal glowing violet. He touched it gently. A beam of light flashed, and a hologram of Empress Varel appeared. She looked younger than the last recording. Her voice was calm, but urgent. To those who find this, I am hunted by my own council. The High Lords betrayed me. They feared my bond with Carrick's. They said no creature should hold such loyalty. But I trusted him more than I trusted them. Her image flickered. They've placed spies in every system. If you still follow me, protect the Guardian. If he wakes, and tell him I never stopped believing. The message faded. Reed stood frozen. Carrick's did not speak. Then finally, she never gave up. No, Reed said. She fought from the shadows. This was her secret war. Suddenly, a soft beep came from Reed's compad. New signal. Encrypted. Very old. He opened it. A map appeared. A prison moon orbiting a forgotten gas giant. There was no name, just a blinking red dot. Carrick's leaned in. That's her. Reed frowned. You're sure? I feel her. The same fire that once shaped stars. Reed pulled back from the console. We'll need a ship. There's an old transport station buried near the West Ridge, he added. It hasn't been used in years. Carrick's nodded. Then we go. No more waiting. As they left the archive, Reed paused one last time. He looked back at the quiet crystals, still holding stories no one had heard. This place should be preserved. It will be, Carrick said, after we bring her home. Hours later, Reed used broken mining gear and tools to reactivate the old shuttle. Carrick's lay curled outside the hangar, his eyes never fully closing. They'll follow, Reed warned. Let them, the dragon replied. They've already taken everything from me once. I will not let it happen again. The shuttle lifted off, leaving behind the icy ground of Zeros 9. Below, the wind erased their footsteps. Above, stars stretched, toward the place where truth was locked behind steel and silence, and this time, the dragon would not sleep. The stars outside the shuttle were sharp and cold. Reed sat in the pilot's seat, his hands on the controls. Sweat rolled down his back, not from fear, but from pressure. Beside him, the massive dragon Carrick sat still, wings folded tightly to fit in the cargo bay. His golden eyes stared through the metal wall, focused on one thing: the prison moon. It spun slowly in space, quiet and gray. The prison itself was hidden inside. No windows, no signals. Just shadows. Reed tapped the console. "We'll reach orbit in 3 minutes." "She is there," Carrick said softly. "I can feel her. Faint but alive." Reed glanced at him. "You're sure?" Carrick closed his eyes. Her bond was never broken. Not by time. Not by silence. But just as Reed prepared the landing sequence, an alarm beeped on the console. Incoming ships. 3, 4, 5. All fast. All unregistered. Reed's blood went cold. "Someone followed us." Carrick's rose slowly. "No. They hunted us." The enemy ships spread out, surrounding the prison moon. They didn't hail. They didn't warn. They fired. Laser blasts lit the sky. Reed dove the shuttle into a sharp dive, engines screaming. "We can't land," he shouted. "They'll hit us on the descent." "Then drop me," Carrick said calmly. Reed blinked. "What?" "Open the rear hatch, I will fly." Reed hesitated, but only for a moment. He slammed a lever down. "Go." The hatch opened, and for the first time in 2,000 years, Carrick flew. He shot into space like a shadow streaked with fire. The enemy ships turned toward him. Too late. He slammed into the first ship, ripping off its wings with one swipe. The second one fired, but Carrick spun and dodged, letting the blast pass beneath him. He wasn't just fast. He was angry, but focused. Inside the shuttle, Reed shouted into the mic, "I'm landing now. Find her." The shuttle slid through the lower atmosphere, smoke and sparks trailing behind. Above, Carrick roared, not in rage but warning. 2 enemy ships closed in, charging plasma cannons. Carrick stopped mid-flight and opened his mouth. For the first time, fire spilled out. Wild, hot, golden. The beam of flame tore through both ships like paper. They exploded in silence. On the ground, Reed crashed into the landing bay of the prison moon. Metal groaned. He kicked the hatch open and jumped out with a pulse torch. Guards came running, but they were unarmed, confused, scared. "I'm here for the Empress," he shouted. They didn't fight. One old man simply nodded. "She's in the deep cell. They told us she was a weapon. We didn't know." Reed ran. Deep below, he reached a chamber sealed by black metal and alien scripts. He slammed the pulse torch into the lock. Sparks flew. The door creaked open. Inside, floating in a crystal pod, was Empress Varel. Older now. Still. Peaceful. Reed whispered, "We found you." Suddenly behind him, a sound. Footsteps. One last bounty hunter stepped into the room, weapon raised. Reed froze. The bounty hunter sneered. "You're too late. She stays frozen." A deep growl rumbled from the corridor. Then came the voice inside both their minds. "No!" Carrick stepped through the smoke, his body scorched but standing tall. The bounty hunter turned and dropped his weapon. Carrick walked past him, straight to the Empress's pod. He placed one claw gently against the crystal. "Wake up, my queen. It is safe now." The pod hissed, light spilled out, her eyes opened, and for the first time in 2,000 years, she smiled. "Hello, Carrick." Reed stepped back as Dragon and Empress looked at each other. No words. Just deep silence and tears. Varel reached out and touched his snout. "I never stopped believing in you. And I never stopped waiting." Behind them, the bounty hunter knelt, not from fear, but from awe. The prison moon burned behind them. Smoke rose from shattered towers. The last bounty ship crashed into the ground with a distant boom. Sparks danced in the dark sky like falling stars. Inside, the ruined chamber, the Empress sat weakly against a wall. Her silver armor was faded, her hair streaked with gray, but her eyes still burned with quiet fire. Carex, her dragon, knelt beside her, his body scarred, his wings dragging. The flight and battle had taken a heavy toll. He was breathing, but barely. Reed stood between them, scanning the air with his compad. 2 more enemy ships on radar, we don't have long. The Empress coughed. I can walk, just not far. Reed looked at her, then at the dragon. He can't fly. Carex's eyes glowed faintly. Then leave me. Protect her. Reed stepped forward. No. You'll never carry me. Reed gritted his teeth. Watch me. Using broken armor plates and leftover chains, Reed fashioned a crude sled. He pulled it behind a mining rover stolen from the prison bay. Carex, too weak to move, climbed on, his claws trembling as he lay flat across it. The Empress sat in the front seat, still silent. Reed slammed the controls. Hold. Tight. The rover roared across the rocky moon surface. Enemy ships circled above. Missiles fell. Reed swerved between cliffs and broken guard towers, every muscle tight with focus. One missile exploded behind them. The shockwave lifted the rover's back. Wheels, Carex growled, straining to lift his head. Let me go, you cannot outrun them. Reed shouted, shut up and hold on. The Empress chuckled softly. They reached the outer hangar, a rusted port where Reed's broken shuttle was still hidden under a tarp. The Empress stepped down slowly, legs shaking. Reed helped her in, then turned to Carex. I'm getting you inside. No arguments. The dragon stared at him. You carry more than fire, human. You carry loyalty. Reed smiled. Then help me one more time. Lean forward. With great effort, Reed guided Carex into the back of the ship. The shuttle groaned, under his weight, but held. Above, the 2 enemy ships began to descend, their guns charged. Brace yourselves, Reed shouted. He hit the engines. The shuttle blasted from the surface just as a plasma bolt struck the ground beneath. They shot into the sky like a bullet, shaking, burning, barely flying. Inside, alarm screamed. Oxygen low. Heat rising. Panels cracked. The Empress turned to Reed. Do you know where you're going? He laughed breathlessly. No idea, she smiled. Perfect. Behind them, the 2 enemy ships followed, weapons locking in. But then, a low rumble filled the cabin. Carex stood, weak, bleeding, but awake. Open the hatch. Reed hesitated. You'll be pulled out. Only for a moment. Reed hit the switch. The rear hatch opened. Wind roared inside. Carex stepped to the edge. He opened his mouth, and for a second time, he breathed fire. Golden flames shot into the stars, burning through one of the chasing ships. It exploded in a flash of light. The other ship broke formation and vanished into warp space. They had seen enough. Carex collapsed inside, exhausted. The hatch closed. Silence returned. Reed landed the shuttle on a quiet asteroid field nearby, safe for now. Inside, the darkened ship. The Empress knelt beside her dragon. She whispered something ancient, a word Reed couldn't understand. Carex's eyes opened just slightly. You came back. She touched his cheek. You waited for me. Reed sat in the corner, head leaning, against a panel. He looked at them both, and for the first time in his life, he didn't feel like just a worker. He felt like part of a legend. The ship floated in silence above a shattered moon. Inside, the air was dim and warm. The engines rested. The flames were gone. Carex, the great dragon, lay curled near the cargo bay, his breathing deep, slow, tired. His wounds were healing, but he had not spoken in hours. Reed checked the controls quietly. His hands ached. His eyes were red from smoke and fire. But his heart was steady. They had survived, and so had she. The Empress Varel stood near the wide glass window, her hand resting on the wall, eyes fixed on the stars. She had returned from a prison of 2,000 years, and yet the galaxy did not know it. Not yet. Do you think they'll follow? Reed asked. She didn't answer at first. Then, finally, they will. They always do, but this time, we will be ready. She turned toward him. You didn't have to help me. Or him. You could have walked away. Reed shrugged. Maybe I'm not that smart. She smiled. No, you're just loyal. Like him. Suddenly, a beeping sound broke the silence. A signal. Encrypted. Old Reed tapped it open. It came from deep space. A secret channel. If the Empress lives, speak now. The loyal remain. We are waiting. She stepped forward, took the mic from Reed's hand. Her voice was soft, but every word carried weight. This is Empress Varel of House Varel. I live, and I return with fire beside me. There was no reply for a moment. Then, your orders, my Empress? She looked at Carrick's, then at Reed, and said, Prepare the path. I'm coming home. The next few days passed quickly. Hidden ships arrived, old ones, loyal ones, refugees, warriors, historians. They came in secret, landing in the asteroid field, and when they saw the dragon sleeping peacefully, they fell to their knees. Reed watched with quiet eyes as soldiers cleaned Carrick's armor with careful hands. Some left gifts of fruit and fire flowers. He's not a god, Reed said once. One soldier replied, No, but he is the proof of one. A few days later they launched. A fleet of 30 ships moved together. Their destination, Vile Prime, the world that once held the Golden Palace, now ruled by traitors, soon to be ruled no more. When they arrived, the skies turned gold. The people looked up and gasped. They had heard the rumors, but seeing was different. They saw the royal banners, ones not flown in 2,000 years. They saw the dragon in the sky, and they heard the name, Carrick's has returned. On the palace steps, the false king stood frozen. He ordered his soldiers to fire, but none obeyed. Because when Carrick's landed on the marble ground and let out a single low growl, everyone stepped back. Even the wind held its breath. The Empress walked forward, dressed not in armor but in a simple black robe marked only by her house crest. She looked the false king in the eye. You ruled in my shadow, she said, but my fire walks beside me again. The false king dropped his crown and ran. That night, fire danced in the skies, not from war, but from celebration. Inside the palace, Carrick's curled beside the golden throne, not at its feet, but beside it. Reed stood nearby wearing clean clothes for once. The Empress sat down, not as a ruler above others, but as one who had finally come home. She looked at Reed. You were a worker, a stranger, a human. He smiled. Yeah, I remember. But you carried my guardian when I couldn't. You gave your strength when I had none. She held out a small crystal, a badge once given only to high command. Will you stay? She asked. Reed nodded once. Yeah, I'll stay. Outside, the people shouted one name louder than any other. Not Varel, not Reed, but Carrick's. Carrick's, the flame that waited. And somewhere deep in the halls, a poet wrote on clean paper. He slept for 2,000 years. He woke to find her gone. He burned not for revenge, but for love. And the stars bowed when he returned.